Hey everybody, thanks for joining us again. This is going to be our first installation video that we've put together. This particular video is going to be on installation of the pivot sensor on a Garmin force trolling motor. So what you're seeing now, those were the two parts that we were going to be installing, the sensor itself and the magnetic pickup. So first thing you want to do is either make sure you have a friend or do what I just did and get you in this case is a 3/4 inch by 3 inch piece of wood that I've trimmed to support the trolling motor. It makes life a whole lot easier. So the first step that we're going to do after supporting the trolling motor is we're going to remove the clip that is on the lower end of the trolling motor main cable. It's held on by two little 3mm screws. So we pull that off and the spring clip falls off. We put our sensor, which is on a stainless steel bracket, in between that clip and the trolling motor body itself, the frame body. It's just held on. You put the same screws right back on. It's really easy to put on, although I've kind of fumbled around with it. Again, this is something that you really can't screw up unless you mount it upside down. So make sure that the magnet in this case is on the lower right hand side, and that's the right orientation. But again, it's just two little screws, goes right behind the Garmin factory clip. One thing to note, it sure does make it a lot easier to do this without your electronics in the way. So if you're going to take your electronics off to put the junction block or wiring junction block in the front well of your boat, now's a good time to do the rest of this. So I certainly recommend pulling everything off, installing it, putting everything back on clean. Okay, now that we've got that on, what we got to do is we've got to mount the magnetic pickup. So on the underside of the bracket that we just put on the frame is a little magnet, and that magnet is what we pick up with a Hall effect sensor, and that we're going to mount to the top of the plastic piece, plastic side cover of the trolling motor. So what I'm doing here is I want to get an alignment. So I'm looking at the little magnet, and sorry for the focus, but I'm putting a little mark on the side of that piece of tape that aligns with the center line of that magnet that's on the underside of that metal bracket. So once we have that, we can pull the trolling motor up and get it out of the way, and because we've got to take that side bracket off. Again, the wooden wedge is extremely handy. I might add that this video is shot in real time, and this is a roughly a 10-minute job start to finish. So it's really pretty simple. All of these screws are just little Allen head screws. One thing, to take the side cover off, you have to take the nose piece off, which is also held by two little Allen head screws. So now we have the side cover off. You can see the little mark that we made on the painter's tape. That's going to act as a guide and allow us to get a center line for the two 1/16 inch holes that we need to drill. So we place the sensor on the absolute edge of the top flat piece, centered with that mark, and then we make 2 little marks in the holes, in the mounting holes for the sensor. And those will just serve as a guide for the 1/16 inch screw. Again, sorry for the focus here. You know, one thing, these side covers are obviously plastic, and they're very easy to work with and very forgiving. And if this is something that you don't feel like you can do, or you're worried about damaging your trolling motor, I was able to get, and I've ordered a bunch of them because I've played with this a lot. I was able to get a new set of side covers for this trolling motor and the Lowrance Ghost trolling motor for less than $40 from trollingmotorparts.com. So don't feel like you're doing damage to something that's irreplaceable. So here we're going to create a little slot for the wire, and I just do it with side cutters, and I just make 2 little snips. You see I made a mark. Later on I'll show you a picture to make a little bit more sense, but I just make 2 little cuts about 1/4 inch apart, maybe a little wider than that, and then just flex back and forth the piece in between and create a little notch. And again, very easy. A 8-year-old could do this. The little notch that is left can be a little rough, and so I just use a little rat tail file and knock off some of the corners just to smooth it up just a little bit. I'm not sure it's necessary, but I had it laying around, so. So now the next step that we're gonna do, first off, we're gonna check and make sure that wire is gonna go through that slot, which it does. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna notch all of these ribs that are on the underside, on the inside of the mounting plate or side covers. And it's the same operation. We just make 2 cuts and then take the piece in between and just flex it back and forth a few times, and it just pops out. Because what we're doing here is we want this cable to go up and behind and out, and that serves a couple purposes. One, it keeps it out of the way, and number 2, it creates a stress relief for that sensor. So if something pulls on the cable, it'll just pull on the cable itself and not pull on the sensor. Apologize here that this last notch leaving the side plate is kind of out of frame, but you'll see it here in a second. Again, it's just making 2 cuts 1/4 to 3/16 inch apart, flexing it back and forth, and it leaves a slot. You see it there. Clean that up just a little bit. So now we need to screw the sensor down, prepare to put this back on. There'll be 2 screws that are included with your kit, and they're self-tapping screws, and they're pretty small, and this self-tap's really easy. Again, this whole operation is one that is very difficult to screw up. You can tell by the screwdriver I'm using that it doesn't take a lot of force to tap these. So now we're going to route the cable through the little channel that we made in the ribs on the inside edge of the side cover. Now we're going to reverse everything and start putting things back on. You can see how the cable, it reappears on the left side of the side cover, And that's a great place for it to come out, because it comes out and joins in with the main trolling motor cable. You can zip tie or Velcro strap it together. That is the best way to have this cable run. The side cover put back on, then we have to put the nose piece back on. Once that's on, all that's left is just to verify that everything's in the right place, that the magnet itself is coming down on top of the body of the sensor. And you'll see at the end of the video, there's a picture that shows or a short clip of a video that shows a close-up of the sensor installed, and you can kind of get a better idea of the cable routing. So there you can see magnets right on top of the sensor body. And now you'll see a video of the wiring itself. So you'll notice the edge of the sensor is right at the breakover edge of the side piece. Appreciate you watching. Next videos will be on actually installing the unit, and be looking for that soon. Thanks.